In the darkest shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read ancient tomes, the order of the Abracast. We are the brave and bold.
The Ages begins with the shocking story of Cain and Abel and the journey of violence and revenge spanning thousands of years, following Cain through his cursed life from an ancient invasion of malicious angels to the American Revolutionary War. A masterful, compelling journey through time, The Ages delves deep into arcane knowledge, myth, and legend. The art is stunning, and the story takes you on a journey where mortals, immortals, angels, and demons are all forced to deal with the folly that is God's creation. It's a beautifully dark and gritty ride through history. This 4-part story follows the astrological procession of the ages and how each 2,500-year age parallels major changes in the development of Earth's inhabitants. Cain's blasphemous struggle with the divine and sacred tyrant God will create and crumble empires, shape history, and cause a cosmic cataclysm.
Taliaferro, 1954, reported rapid low-voltage activity during the early stages of sexual arousal that was followed by slow high-voltage paroxysmal activities during orgasm. Heath, 1972, recorded subcortical and cortical EEG with implanted electrodes in 2 patients and found slow wave and spike activity with interspersed fast activity mainly in the septal region during orgasm. These waveforms matched paroxysmal discharge in epilepsy. H.D. Cohen, Rosen, and Goldstein, 1976, showed that the alpha waves in both hemispheres during baseline give way to high amplitude 4 hertz activity over the right perineal lobe during orgasm, which is not visible during fake orgasm. Well, there you go. This is from this is from an article called "Psychobiology of Altered States of Consciousness," and we're gonna get into this evening. No, there we go. There it is. Hey. Talk to me, baby. Talk to me.
The Abracast. Occult. History. Conspiracy. Violence.
If you want the conclusion to... When you get to the end of this episode and you want the conclusion to the Freedom is a Two-Edged Sword episode, the last episode is available right now on Patreon. Or if you don't want to go to Patreon, you don't want to cough up some bucks, or whatever, then just you could just wait for a couple days, and part 3 will be available right here, wherever you catch your fine podcasts. But if you're raring to go, you want to hear the end of it, it is on Patreon. All right, now. Peace. All right, welcome to the Abercast. I'm your host, John Towers. We do have a lot of stuff to cover this evening, so I'm going to get things rolling fairly as early as I can. Wanted to thank everybody for the rates and the reviews. I'm always looking for more rates and reviews, so hey, if I entertain you this evening, if you learned something tonight, I'd like to encourage you to stop in the iTunes store and give me a rate and review. Let me know what you think of the show. I've been working on the binge listening part of the new website. So if you go to abercast.com or stigmatastudios.com in the Abercast section, there is a new sub-tab that has streaming, ready-to-go audio of all the shows that are all of the Abercast shows that made the moving day cut, which is the vast majority of them. So I'd like to encourage you to check that out, and I'll keep adding them. I'll add them as we go. Patreon, the Patreon page, not a whole lot of action going on over there, but wanted to just keep mentioning it. The main goal right now is to get a Books for Soldiers program going. These guys that are overseas, they're bored, they're sitting around tents and shit looking for something to do, so we can help them out. I have ties to some programs that already do this. We just need help. Books are heavy. Hey bros, books are heavy. So looking for a little bit of help with P.O. boxes and shipping costs and all this, and getting books together and everything, But it's also, really, it's just a disguise. It's a disguise. It's a cover story. Because I'm just looking for a reason to get the oath put on some mason jars and send them out to you guys so we can all sit around and drink gin jihads together while we're listening to the show. This is sort of a part 2 from the last part. So the reason it's totally a number 2 from the last, it's a sequel to the last episode for sure. But the topic changes like radically. Like the first part of Jack Parsons' Freedom is a Double-Edged Sword essay, part 1, is all about freedom and liberty. Part 2 is all about sex. Part 3 is all about organized religion, and part 4 is all about chicks. So or I shouldn't say chicks, I'm sorry. It's about the female principle. So, I don't know how many of these we're going to do. Because I'm a completist, I'm going to get through all of them. I just don't know how many episodes it's going to take me. So the reason that we're doing this Freedom is a Two-Edged Sword is because when I did the Liber 1, 2, and 3, when we're talking about the Thelemic Liber 1, Liber 2, and Liber 3, I didn't stumble on it, but I kind of read this and I took a second to ponder its meaning on the podcast, and it caused me to find this essay from Jack Parsons, who was an acolyte of Crowley. He actually went on to write Liber 49, which he thought would be the part 4 of the Book of the Law, which has 3 parts. So he's kind of like he kind of tried to write the New Testament. Is a way to look at it. Like he was like, I got the rest of this book. Don't worry about it. So, I mean, it's from a guy who's got some bona fides. He's a father of American rocketry, and he's an occultist. Everyone's going to know who this guy is pretty soon. You guys are like getting in on the ground floor. They're doing a TV show about him called The Strange Angel. I guess it's based on a comic book or something. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it. Anyhow, in Liber 2, the message of the Master Therion, I found this this passage, and this is what I was like stopping and wondering about. It says, from these considerations, it should be clear that do what thou wilt does not mean do what you like. It is the apotheosis of freedom, but it is also the strictest possible bond. So when I read that, I stopped and I'm like, what is the strictest possible bond? Anyhow, I did some continued reading and I believe I found the answer here in the first part of this essay. But like I said, I am a completist, so we are going to do the other 3 parts of the essay as well. So we're actually going to get into this. Oh, also, if you're interested in this, I have basically, I'm creating Thelema theme in a lot of my episodes. So the Babylon working episodes, which is all about Jack Parsons trying to usher in the Aeon of Horus by having group sex with a woman that he thinks is an elemental, and L. Ron Hubbard. We pondered this Aeon of Horus, and we kind of bumped it up against the hippie New Age idea of the age of Aquarius, and we found a lot of edges that touch there. So that was interesting. That was the first one that we did. We also did a couple of Goetia episodes where we talked about Crowley, spent a little bit of time translating the lesser key of Solomon. So that's not really a Thelemic text, but I included in this list because it is Crowley. And it's a fun list. The 3 episodes are hilariously fun to listen to, in my humble opinion. Not that I'm laughing at my own jokes. The Book of the Law episodes, there's 3 chapters of the Book of the Law. I did over an hour on each chapter, so that is a good listen, right? Those are good listens. The Liber 1, 2, and 3 episodes, again, 3 hours of content right there, all about this Thelemic text. And then, of course, Freedom is a Two-Edged Sword Part 1, which was just last week, or last episode, whatever. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. It's only like 12 minutes in. Okay, hold on. Lovely, lovely. So, trigger warning, there is going to be some sexy talk here. Just so you guys know. Probably not, like, I can't imagine anyone listens to this fucking show at work without headphones on, but just letting everybody know there's going to be some sexy talk here. We're going to be throwing around words like orgasm pretty freely here. So go ahead and grab your mason jars, fill them up, charge them up, get your formula for mass distraction in there, the Jin Jihad, and get ready, my friends, because we are going to Carpe Noctem. Here we go. Chapter 2. This was written, obviously, by... this is chapter 2 of Freedom is a Two-Edged Sword by Frater Balerion, OTO. That's a.k.a. Jack Parsons. Chapter 2. Of all of the strange and terrible powers among which we move unknowingly, sex is the most potent. Conceived in the orgasm of birth, we bust forth in agony and ecstasy from the center of creation. Time and again we return to that fountain, lose ourselves in the fires of being, unite for a moment with the eternal force, and return renewed and refreshed as from a miraculous sacrament. Then, at the last of our life closes in the orgasm of death. So this is... La Petite Mort, the little death. And I've been carrying around this useless information with me forever, trying to find a way to make it relevant and all. But, so this term, La Petite Mort, is, It was first attested use with the meaning of orgasm was in 1882. In modern usage, this term has generally been interpreted to describe the post-orgasmic state of unconsciousness that some people have after sexual experience. More widely, it can be referred to as the spiritual release that comes with orgasm, or to a short period of melancholy or transcendence as a result of the expenditure of life force. I know, for those of you that are keeping track of Libra 3, I know I caught myself. I'm just not going to stop the show and just do this. My arm is starting to look like, when prisoners are in jail, and they just have those tick marks all over the walls tracking time. My fucking arms are looking like that. So I will catch up. Believe me. I gotta wait. I'm just going to put it on hold for 1 second. What was I talking about? Where am I? Sex typified as love is at the heart of every mystery, at the center of every secret. It is this splendid and subtle serpent that winds about the cross and coils in the bloom of the mystic rose. So this is stuff that we've talked about before when we talked about this. We talked about I can't remember what episode that was. We talked about the Kundalini and sex magicians, and this idea that this period of transcendence as a result of the expenditure of life force. I can see we haven't really just done a knockdown, drag out episode on sex magic. It's just come up a few times. So, part of this transcendence as a result of the expenditure of the life forces, it's this potentiality. There are some sex magicians out there that they know there's a certain... I don't know how to fucking describe this. There's a certain pressure point, or it helps me to think of it as like plumbing, right? So there's a tube that's like right under. There's a tube that runs. Okay, I'm just going to say it. There's a tube that runs like under your taint, right? And there's the sex magician kind of part, at least some doctrine of this sex magician things, where when they achieve orgasm, whether they're doing it manually or if they have a partner or whatever, they want to keep a hold of the good stuff, right? So they'll like mandible claw that tube that's under there, this like pressure point. You like they claw it, like they do a Vulcan nerve pinch kind of. No, I don't want to call it a nerve pinch. Because I'm trying. It's just like, okay, do you know what like an Asiatic spike is? Like there's a wrestling move in the 80s. I used to use it all the time. I would tape my thumb up and do it. But so just think of that. And then there's this, I don't think you use your thumb because it's just easier to like mandible claw it. Another wrestling term. I don't know why I keep coming up with wrestling terms when I'm talking about this. So it's just like you claw it, and if you hold it, it'll retain your fluids, if you know what I'm saying. And then they use that potentiality, that life force in there for like their mystical purposes to bend reality to their will. But another thing about this transcendence as a result of the expenditure of life force, another kind of doctrine or thought about this sex magic is, it being the petite mort is when you achieve orgasm, you let go of your ego. So, if you can hold your intent, or if you can hold your I don't know, spell or whatever in your head while your ego is crumbling. You can communicate with the universe without that filter of all that ego bullshit. And it's a way to it's a way, like I said, to communicate to the universe or to the gods or to God, whatever, without that layer of yourself, because you're at that moment you're egoless. It's the little death. I don't know if this has gotten weird to you guys already. Like 20 minutes in and I'm talking about mandible clawing your butthole. I don't know. Not your butthole. We're talking about mandible clawing our own buttholes. I don't know. Anyhow, I know people that have tried this aspect of sex magic, the communicating to the universe through this egoless lens of orgasm, and apparently they really got their podcast numbers up with it. So it's an experiment that I have not tried. Back to the book. The sexual perversion of Christianity becomes obvious when it is realized that the Holy Ghost, Sophia, is feminine. In the very tetragrammaton, Yod, he, vo, he means father, mother, son, daughter, and asserts the splendor of the biological order. How could life proceed from a strictly masculine creation? That miracle could possibly be superior to the miracle of copulation, conception, and gestation. So the corrupt and demonic Jehovah is a priesthood blasphemed nature in order to perpetuate a tyrannical and superstitious patriarchy. Hashtag me too. Woman was insulted and affronted with the calumny, I don't know what that means, of immaculate conception. Then by this mystery mongering, a premium was placed on the moral and spiritual sterility. This sublimation of the sex urge has been the basis of the power of the church and is the source of much psychosis rampant in the modern world. Amen, amen. And not just Christianity, son, by the way, Jack Parsons, you should also level this accusation at the religion of peace. The tetragrammaton I mentioned at the very beginning of this thing is It's the unknowable, the name of God, the tetragrammaton. You see this used all the fucking time. That there's a shitty, I guess it's not shitty, I don't know, it's like The Matrix in like 1984 movie. It was like in the early 2000s, maybe late 1990s, with the guy who's going to go on to become Batman. Not Ben Affleck. No, not Adam West. No, not Michael Keaton. Oh, Christian Bale. And his order was the order of the tetragrammaton. People are like, it's an awesome name, so people like try to use it. And anyhow, whatever. It has been asserted that the church has been a champion of progress and freedom. Nothing could be more fallacious. Organized Christianity, and also the religion of peace, sir, has been inevitably allied with tyranny, reaction, and persecution. No organized dogma can contribute to the progress except by the occasional accident. The church's... I just did it again. I owe you two. No organized dogma can contribute to the progress except by the occasional accident. This church's main contribution has been to intentionally foment revolt against its bigotry. It could hardly be otherwise with the organization founded on the double fallacy, the sin of sex and the infallibility of man. No religion can hope to benefit humanity while it preaches love and reviles the root of love. Anyone hoping to understand and cope with human relations must understand both the importance and overemphasis of sex in society. Sexual concepts and symbolism underline the world's religions. As I mentioned above, sublimated sex has been the source of power for the Christian church. Sex and sex neurosis, the fundamental factors in the attitude of modern men. These three facts give sex a place of prime importance in our liberal examination of society. Our sexy attitudes are largely characterized by pretense. The majority of people under 50 today, all right, remember this was written in... what did I say? It was written in 46. The majority of people under 50 today have at one time or another engaged in what is termed illicit intercourse, and yet we pretend publicly that we have not done so. Some of us go so far as to state that we don't do it. Never would do it or disapprove in the criminal types who do. Policemen arrest and judges convict persons discovered in a pursuit which they themselves indulge in. The enjoyment of the natural urge is defined as a crime. Young persons thus enjoying the urge and the wonder of the beginning are burdened with a sense of guilt and shame. That is true. But there is a time, there is an age where it's okay, and I think it's different for everybody. They are classed with common criminals. Why? The shameful answer is that back in the Middle Ages, under conditions of squalor, ignorance, superstition, and oppression, the sex taboo became a prime instrument in the power in the arsenal of a band of brigands known as the Christian Church. This is the reason that young people in love are classified as criminals. Venereal disease thrives and abortionists prosper as an inevitable result. The superstition which fostered this shameful condition is no longer absolutely dominant, but the institution that promoted the belief that the human body was obscene, that love was indecent, and that a woman was forever made foul by original sin, remains to mold our thoughts and shape our laws. It is the most significant that the spiritual... I heard it. I know. I'm not fibbing you. That's 3. God damn it. It is most significant that the spiritual and physical inheritors of the church, both Catholic and Protestant, vigorously and effectively oppose birth control, venereal disease, education, divorce law reform, i.e. anything that would limit the power of their weapon. If the Christians enforce these taboos only among their believers, they would be within their rights. Man has the right to any personal stupidity, however monstrous it may seem, but this is not their principal concern. They seek to impose this nonsense on everyone. Every method of legislative, moral, and economic intimidation at their command. It sounds like the Clintons. This success of their efforts can be judged by the reflection of such attitudes in the press, the radio, the motion picture industry, and our legal statutes. True to fascist form, the censor utilizes this moral victory to impose political and social censorship in all fields. Bigots and demigods evoke the divine right of religion and of morality in order to gain extraordinary power. Freedom of religion and of the press. I found a typo in this. Should not afford a justification for giant propaganda campaigns to suppress freedom. We must not only have freedom of religion, we must have freedom from religion. This concept that sex in art, literature, and life is subject to criminal law is based entirely on the superstitious sexual taboo. The censorial power of the church and the state and established press is founded solely on this one assumption that the taboo of a particular religion should have universal legal sanction. This sanction, once established, is the subtly extended to imply that all other dogmas of that religion are now the, quote, unwritten law, unquote, of the land. Such a religion should always respectable and conservative forms of alliance with fascist and capitalist cliques, thus gaining a privileged position from which to persecute liberalism. Remember, this liberalism is not Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer liberalism. That this word has changed meanings drastically since 1946. In all its forms, superstition, taboo, reaction, and fascism argument are among one another most effectively. The fact that one type of totalitarianism persecutes another, or appears to do so, is hardly palliative. Modern man must recognize the source and nature of his sexual taboos and discredit them in the light of truth. Only thus can he achieve sanity in sex and a healthy outlook on life in general. In our society, marriages are often prevented by economic considerations. Therefore, premarital sexual relations are natural and often desirable. Contraceptive techniques available to any intelligent young person, from a druggist or a doctor or a truck stop bathroom or a stop-in to your guidance counselor, can minimize the problem of venereal diseases and unwanted pregnancies, the development of sexual technique, the determination of the qualification of one's partner, and the gratification of the youthful urge to experiment are all assure a far more lasting and stable marriage than one begun in ignorance and prudery. In marriage itself, the social contract is binding. Property acquired by these joint efforts. Fuck, I just lost my spot. Property acquired by the joint efforts of husband and wife belong to both jointly. Where any two persons have pledged their love together, no outsider has the right to interfere. Either party is justified in resisting such interference by force if necessary. But neither party, whether the relation be in or out of wedlock, has any right or jurisdiction over the love, affection, and sexual favors of another for longer than that person desires. God damn it. Where children are concerned, a separation presents a serious problem. Broken homes are hard on children, but a loveless and bitter home is worse. No state can assure a child that the affection of his parents, but it can guarantee his physical welfare and security, thus ensuring him against many of the frustrations of childhood and adolescence, which develop into unstable and maladjusted adult behavior. The laws against mutually agreeable sex expression must be repealed, together with the laws prohibiting nudism, birth control, and censorship. We must emphatically deny that love is criminal and that the body is indecent. We must affirm the beauty and the dignity and the joyousness and even the humor of sex. That is for sure, especially when I'm in your bedroom, baby. You know what I mean? Indeed, there are obscene things in the light and in the darkness, things that deserve destruction. The exploitation of women for poor wages, #MeToo. I'm just kidding. The shameful degradation of minorities by the little lice who call themselves a member of the superior race, and the deliberate machinations towards war. Nowhere among these genuine obscenities is there a place for the love shared by men and women. These are sins, but their love is not one of them. And yet all of these things that have been called sin, love, has been the most punished and the most persecuted. Of all the beauties we know, the springtime of love is the closest to paradise. All of these things pass, so love passes too soon. This most exquisite and tender of human emotions, this little moment of eternity, should be free and unrestrained. It should not be bought and sold, chained, well, maybe rented. No, I'm sorry. Chained and restricted until lovers caught in the maelstrom of economics and law are hounded like criminals. What end is served, and who profits by such cruelty? Only priests and lawyers. Let us adhere to the strict morality. Oh, here we go. We're talking about morality, where the rights and happiness of our fellow man is concerned. Let us call our true sin by the right names and expiate them accordingly. But let our lovers go free. If we were to achieve a civilization and sanity, we must institute an educational program in love making. Ooh, yeah. Birth control and disease prevention. Above all, we must root out the barbaric and vicious concepts of shamefulness, indecency, and sex, exposing the motives and methods of their proponents. Happy are the parents who, as a result of sexual experimentation, are well mated, taking joy in each other's passion, seeing beauty in their nakedness, and not fearing to expose their bodies or the bodies of their children. What? They should never shame their children for their natural sexual curiosity. Well, I'll tell you what, I relate to this because every time I stay in a hotel room, I accidentally see myself naked in that big full-length mirror, and I'm like, whoa, buddy. Whoa, big fella. Jesus told the fallen woman, go and sin no more. But I, who am man, say to you, who have given your body for the need of a man's body, who have given your love freely for his spirit's sake. Be blessed in thy name of man, and if any God deny you for this, I will deny that God. The ancient, not the Asians, the ancients being simple and without original sin, saw God in the act of love, and therein they saw a great mystery. A sacrament revealing the beauty, the bounty and the beauty of the force that made man and the stars. Thus they worshipped poor, ignorant old pagans. I think he's saying that ironically. All you pagans out there, don't freak out on me. How we have progressed. What was most sacred to them, and we see as a dirty joke. A fucking dirty joke. From this sordid joke we have played on ourselves. Only woman herself can redeem us. She has been the ignominious butt of the joke. There's a joke in there, I believe. The target of malice and arrogance, and the scapegoat for masculine inferiority and guilt. She alone can redeem us from our crucifixion and castration. Only woman of and by herself can strike through the foolish frustration of the advertiser's ideal. She must elevate her strong, free, and splendid image to take her place in the sun as an individual, a companion, and a mate fit for demanding no less than true men. Let there be an end to this inhibition and an end to pretense, and let us discover what we are to be and what we are. honestly and unashamedly. The rabbit has speed to recompense his fear, the panther strength to assuage his hunger. There is room for both, even though the rabbit would probably prefer a world of rabbits, dull and overpopulated. He told a joke in here. All traits are useful: wrath, fear, lust, and even laziness. If they are balanced by strength and intelligence, if we lie about things we call our weakness and sins, we say that his is evil and that is wrong, denying that such faults could be part of us. They will grow crooked in the dark. But when we have cut them, when we have them out in the open, admitting them, facing them, or accepting them, then we will be ashamed to leave any vestige of them secret, to turn crippled and twisted. Fear can sharpen our wits against adversity. Anger and strength can be welded into a sword against tyrants, both within and without. Lust can be trained to be the strong and subtle servant of love and art. Fuck. This is the most sober that I've done an episode in weeks, and I'm just racking up these points. Fuck, man. That's the key. I just gotta get drunker. This is beautiful, what he's saying here. And I think it really speaks to this thing of forced equality or something, whatever we're going through right now between the sexes. I think this really speaks to it. Not saying that the women are the rabbits who have speed to recompense their fear, or that men are the panther with strength to assuage his hunger. But he is right. He says there is room for both, even though the rabbit would prefer a world of rabbits. I think this is yin and yang, right? This is why is it equality to have these women characters in our stories, in our pop culture, that are just good at doing what men are supposed to do? I don't know. I'm probably going to get in trouble for that, but whatever. Like, you never see, I mean, you will. I actually have this written in one of the books I'm working on right now, but you never see a man doing that fight move where they jump up. That was a real cough. That was a real throat clear. I don't want to hear it. But you never see a man doing that, like, where they jump up and, like, choke someone out with their legs, like with their crotch. You never see a guy do that. It's always like a strong, independent female woman doing that. It's like you never see Captain America do that, but you see Black Widow do it all the time. I just think that's a funny dichotomy to draw. That's a funny dogma. That's a funny, dichotomy. I had it right the first time. That's a funny dichotomy to have, with your characters. Now, I do have to say that I need to back that up a little bit and maybe put a timer on it, because I remember the original Lethal Weapon. That's how Martin Riggs beat the dude up. Mr. What was his name? It was Gary Busey, I think. But he did that, like, Brazilian jiu-jitsu leg choke fucking move on the guy. And I remember watching that and just being blown away, being like, you could choke a guy out with your balls? It is not necessary to deny anything. It is only necessary to know ourselves. I believe that's an important lesson as well. This Jack Parsons was a wise character. Significance does not lie in the extent to which we resemble others, or in the extent to, maybe I am drunker than I think, or the significant does not lie in the extent to which we resemble others, or in the extent to which we are different from them. It lies within our ability to be ourselves. This may be, the entire object of life, I need to, I'm sorry, I need to I need to highlight this so I can get back to it eventually. On my own. I'm not going to make you guys go back through this. Okay. Duly noted. It lies within our ability to be ourselves. This may well be the entire object of life, to discover ourselves, our meaning. This does not come in a sudden burst of illumination. It is a constant process to which continues so long as we are truly alive. The process cannot continue unobstructed unless we are free to undergo all experience and willing to participate in all existence. Then the significant questions are not, is it right or is it good, but rather, how does it feel and what does it mean? Ultimately, these are the only questions that can approach truth, but they cannot be asked in the absence of freedom. All right, I'm a Parsonite, dude. There's Thomas Paine, and then there's this document, as far as I'm concerned. There was a time when these questions were whispered in the shadows of the stake. The Christian instrument of conversation is not sanctioned at present, but the will and the malice remain and will continue until the power of the superstition-mongering tyrants is finally broken. Meanwhile, religious dogmatism continues to support the sexual jealousies of neurotic parents for their children and neurotic marriage partners for their mates. It is not because of economic desperation and greed that crime and war wash over the world in ever-mounting waves. It is only necessary to look back at the Middle Ages when St. Vitus dance epidemic flagrations and the witchcraft persecutions all spawned out of the Christian guilt and shame swept the Western world. It was not the tone set by these fearful events reinforcing the divine right of reactionary monarchs that produced the liberal revolutionaries of the 18th century. But the roots, that was real, but the sexual taboo was unfortunately not destroyed. It remained to revitalize the power of religion over the new bourgeoisie. The frenetic hatred. I don't know if I'm going to read it. Okay, I'm going to read it. All right. The frenetic hatred of Jews and Negroes, symbols of illicit sexual freedom, and the lust towards the blood and fire baths of warfare are the very aberrations of sexual frustration. They are the nightmares of souls in a hell of guilty desire, laboring like madmen over their instruments of destruction in order to destroy the world which has denied them satisfaction. It is only the unobstructed exercise of sexual function by a generation trained from youth in a contraception and the technique of love that it will be possible to achieve mature social relations. Whew. Sounds like Parsons, like the BBC. In this childish folly of sexual possession, each man and each woman hates and fears every other man and woman as the potential despoiler or some joke by the ever-present specters of jealousy and suspicion. It is possible that the application of two old axioms, that you love one another and that you do unto others as you would, how come I don't know this? Have others do unto you, might go a long way in helping us solve our sexual problems. The application of these maxims in sexual relations is easy and pleasant. It firmly established the principles might spread to other areas of human intercourse. The sexual revolution will not produce any instantaneous paradise, nor will it be accomplished without tears. The way to racial maturity is long and painful, but it is at least possible to attain the maturity and richness that come with full, satisfactory sexual expression in private life. It may be that other considerations become more important in one's later years, but I would hesitate to say at what age to set the mark. It does not seem possible to grow old gracefully unless one has known something of a graceful youth. Well, that's it. That's chapter 2 of Freedom is a Double-Edged Sword. And there's a lot there, but it's not the end of the episode. I have some stuff to talk about that I wanted to link with the first part of all that I failed to do. I found this art. Well, here, hold on. I'll do my normal bit. So that's the meat and potatoes of chapter 2. If you guys want to hold on till the end, I did find this article called Psychobiology of Altered States of Consciousness. I'm not going to do the whole thing. It's like 70 fucking pages long, but I did want to talk about the altered state of consciousness of sexual activity and the orgasm. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and then I'll do that article, and then we'll wrap up. So, if not all of you guys are going to go if you're not all going to go with me to the end of the line, I would like to remind everybody to rate and review on iTunes. I'd like to remind everyone to check out the website and the new every episode ever section. You can find it at stigmatastudios.com or abercast.com. They both go to pretty much the same place. And you can find links to my social media at the bottom. You can also find a link to my Patreon account down there. And like I said, there's not a whole lot of, if any, activity going on there. There is tons of exclusive audio available that you can't find on the regular RSS feed or iTunes or anywhere. But the main thing is once I start getting some activity there at the Patreon thing, we're going to come up with some. I have a lot of fun ideas. We're going to come up with some audio just for Patreon folks. And again, it's going to go for mostly good cause. I'm trying, I want to get, and if you listen to the show for a long time, or you go back and you listen to old episodes, I talk about trying to do this a lot. So, looking to start a Books for Soldiers, I call it Make America Weird Again. So that's there. And, okay, so here comes a quick break, and then we'll finish up with this psychobiology of altered states of consciousness. And then, of course, like always, we'll close out with the Soda Jerk, the fucking fight song. So there we go. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. I appreciate the chance to talk to you guys I feel like I'm down here talking to you guys all the fucking time. And I love it. I love you guys. And I just watch the numbers of the downloads and stuff. And I get so excited. And I just can't thank you enough. So there you go. That's it. And like I said at the beginning of the show, if you learned anything or you're like, if I made you say, I'd like to encourage you guys to rate and review the show. So it helps me out a lot. And also it helps kind of me, do a trade-off. I'm not inking pages right now. I'm not penciling pages right now. I'm not writing anything right now because I'm talking to you guys. So it helps me kind of justify. That's what I'm trying to say. It helps me justify. Okay, so see you guys. If you're going to hang in until afterwards, it's going to be right after this. It's going to be right after this. If this is where you guys are jumping off, then I will see you next week. thanks for tuning in. Again, thanks for sticking in there. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, so this is a medical, it's like a serious, like academic medical article. So I'm going to be stumbling over a lot of words. And also, I can't make it bigger. So I didn't print this out. Wait, well, hold on. What does this do? All right, so this is going to be better. Okay, I did figure out how to blow it up a little bit. Usually I print these articles out so I can just read them and flip through them. But this one's actually on my laptop. So I got to read. Okay, so the name of the article is Psychobiology of Altered States of Consciousness. So I found this one, and also there was another one out there that I actually kind of requested permission to read, and it's all about them putting, I actually think they referenced that one in this article, but it's these people that see, like they have like auroral hallucinations or something, and they trace it to orgasms coming from the right side of the brain, which I find fascinating, utterly fascinating. So if they give me the rights or whatever to read it without paying them $40, the medical journal wants me to pay $40 to read it. But I was like, yo, I applied for a free copy, stating that I'm a researcher. So we'll see how that happens. Okay, so Psychobiology of the Altered States of Consciousness. This is the sexual activity and orgasm section. Also, I got to say that Altered States, that movie fucking tripped me out when I was in high school. It was already old when I was in high school, I think. But my art teacher told me about it. He was about a guy who does acid and gets in a sensory deprivation tank and de-evolves into an ape-man. And I'm like, what? Anyhow. It has nothing to do with this. It's just, the title said Altered States. Okay. Sexual activity and orgasm. Hold on. In several studies over the past 50 years, various changes in the electrical activity of the brain during sexual arousal and orgasm have been described. Mosevich and Talaferno in 54 reported rapid low voltage activity during the early stages of sexual arousal that was followed by a high voltage paroxysmal activity during orgasm. Heath in 72 recorded the subcortical and cortical EEG with implanted electrodes in 2 patients that found slow wave and spike activity with intersped activity between the main and the septal regions during orgasm. These waveforms were matched paroxysmal discharges in epilepsy. H.D. Cohen, Rosen, and Goldenstein in 76 showed that alpha waves in both hemispheres during baseline give way to high amplitude 4 Hertz activity over the right perineal lobe during orgasm, which was not visible during a faked orgasm. The inner hemispheric asymmetry was confirmed by Tucker and Dawson in 84. They found less alpha power and higher coherence in a central posterior regions of the right compared with the left hemisphere during sexual arousal induced by imagery. I would like to see this imagery. I would like to see what they're talking about. These results were replicated by A.S. Cohen, Rosen, and Goldstein in 85 with erotic films. They had some good ones by 85. What do you think they're talking about here? Like, something from the Swedish cinema, perhaps. Some Johnny Wad films, maybe. 85? I think you can find Ginger Lynn in 85. Yeah, I think you probably could find Ginger Lynn in 85. That would be the way to go. Floor Henry in 80 stated that in epilepsy patients with seizures stated that in epilepsy patients with seizures leading to orgasm, the orgasmic response was triggered by discharges in the right hemisphere. You can have an epilepsy so hard you come, dude, that's crazy. This, in contrast, the described profound changes in the EEG, Graber, Rohrbach, Newland, Vanner, and Ellingston 85 found only a small decrease in alpha activity during masturbation and ejaculation. T-Hone et al. 94 confirmed that's not a call sign. That's not a Twitter handle. It's T-Hone et al. In 1994 confirmed that the result of lateralized right hemispheric activity during orgasm with single position emissions computed tomography. They found increased regional cerebral blood flow and the right prefrontal cortex. I think that's the other this is the article I'm trying to get access to. I think that's the study I'm trying to get access to. Neurosurgery and brain lesions after injury have revealed the involvement of the frontal and temporal areas in the inhibitory control of sexual behavior. Freeman, 73, Tizian, O'Dowd, Orr, 55, and septal nuclei in the control of the sexual arousal. Gorman and Cummings, 92. This guy's name is Cummings, and he's a fucking sex doctor. Researcher. Redote et al. 2000 presented their male subjects with visual stimuli in the PET scanner. And they found a high significant bilateral increase of regional cerebral blood flow in the, I don't know what this is, colostrum and putamen, which is positively correlated with the perceived sexual arousal. Another activated region was the nucleus accumbens and the rostral part of the anterior cingulate gyrus. The anterior cingulate gyrus. I imagine that has something to do with the butthole. The nucleus accumbens serves as the common final end path of the dopamine insensitive position and therefore plays an unspecific role in the organization of sexual response. See Rolls 99. The magnitude of activation in the later correlated strongly with penile tumerances. Stimulation of this region leads to an erection in monkeys. Dea and McLean, 64, likewise, Rauch et al., 99, found activation in the rostral region of the anterior cingulus gyrus during sexual and competitive arousal. Wow, this fucking is like this is like reading stereo instructions for your butthole. I don't even know if it's your butthole. I didn't even look. I just thought it was interesting. In contrast, activity in the temporal lobes decreased during an increase of sexual arousal. Rodate et al. 2000. To summarize, subcortical, paroxysmal, and the right hemispheric high amplitude slow activity appear to be related to partial loss of consciousness during an orgasm. This is what I'm talking about. This is it. This is the money shot, so to speak, of the article. This is, I wanted to tie this into La Petite Mort, the Little Death. I'm going to just read it again, not for you. I understand that you know what I'm saying. I'm going to read it again so I can get back on track. To summarize, subcortical, paroxysmal, and right hemispheric high amplitude slow activity appear to be related to the partial loss of consciousness during orgasm. Along with sexual arousal in the orgasm, a lateralized right hemispheric activation occurs. These modifications of the EEG clearly classify orgasm as a specific altered state of consciousness not comparable to any other psychophilosophical states. Psychophysiological states. There we go. Psychophysiological states. These modifications of the EEG clearly classify orgasm as a specifically altered state of consciousness not comparable to any psychophysiological states. Okay, there we go. I fucking did it. I got through. All right, bros. There we go. I've been John Towers. This has been the Abercast. Freedom is a two-edged sword, part 2. And this is oh wait, hold on. This is Soda Jerk with Fucking Fight.
Vienna, 1683. Today is September 11th, 1683. The mighty army of the Ottoman Empire, led by the savage and radical terror troops of the Dar al-Harb, surround the walled city of Vienna and begin a siege to break the golden apple of Europe and kill, enslave, or convert all of its inhabitants. The valiant citizens stand against the tyrannical army with the steadfast leadership of Count Ernst Rudiger von Stromberg, the help of the ever-living rebel Cyrus the Dead Guy, and the hopes of the faraway King Jan Sobieski III and his army of flying hussars. The Vienna 1683 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us. The Non-Standard Squad, 1944. World War II. 3 weird American soldiers are on a search and rescue mission into the oldest and darkest regions of Europe. A cursed, ever-living warrior, Cyrus the Dead Guy. An experimental warbot, Sergeant Lane McCord. An all-red axe, mysterious rogue with a demon-possessed arm, come face to face with an army of magically corrupted machine-obsessed elves, a magic hammer-wielding Norse Ubermensch, and a Nazi wizard who is a member of the ancient Dark Order of the Shining Hexagon. The Non-Standard Squad 1944 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us.
In my darling whiskey, she tightened up her grip, and she made me sick that night. I knew that the whiskey would take up my life. Well, I stand a full 2 inches below 5'9", and every guy here wants to take me alive. So I'll take a shot of whiskey and punch out their lights. The whiskey, it make me wanna fucking a shot